Boom! Hey, welcome back to an underground tricentennial moment, all right? So here I am in the Louisiana National Guard Museum. This is the Civil War Battle of Liberty exhibit. And these are kind of interesting things here. This cannon here, look at the size of that puppy. This is the cannon that the state militia opened fire on the New Orleans Democratic Club Committee that was trying to bring better government in. So they had two of them, and they've renamed them. This one is called Redemption, and this one to my right is called Resurrection. And what it says here, you got a photo, you know, our mascot, LSU, the Fighting Tigers, because that's part of that whole 12,000 men that fought under Robert E. Lee, Louisiana Tigers. Great museum they have here. A lot of stuff about how these guys were instrumental in Katrina and just their whole role since really the Battle of 1812. They stayed, they formed Jackson Barracks. Robert E. Lee was stationed here at Jackson Barracks for about 6 months before he shipped out for the Mexican-American War, which has a display right over there. So he was in New Orleans for about 6 months. This is where he was, Jackson Barracks. It's in Orleans Parish, right next to St. Bernard Parish. So what this says here is, I'm going to get behind this guy so you can really see. I mean, that's a hell of a cannon right there. They also had a Gatling gun. So the police came down Decatur Street and opened fire on the guys that were protesting high crime, corruption, voter suppression, and gun confiscation as the upcoming election was coming along. It was in September. The election was scheduled for November, just like we have now. You know, we have a mayoral race coming up. Charles Leeds had ordered some guns, and he was running for mayor as a Democrat. The guns were confiscated on a ship called the SS Mississippi at the foot of Canal Street. And they decided to have a protest there on September 14th. And the police came down Decatur Street and opened fire. And interestingly, some of those guys ran along the levee, the Mississippi River, and opened fire along the police, and they left these cannons and the Gatling gun and ran. So they took them, and they were hidden for many years because nobody wanted the feds to take them over. What it says here, it says, these two artillery pieces date to the Civil War, the Battle of Liberty, which occurred in the tense Reconstruction period. In 1874, state residents clamoring for a return to local rule clashed in New Orleans with a federally sanctioned state militia and city police. Now, it really wasn't city police. They called them the Metropolitan Police, meaning that St. Bernard, Orleans, and Jefferson Parish were all covered by the same police force. Only whites died that day. This deal about it being a multiracial police force, but yet the Democrats that opened fire, they only killed white cops. So it was really not about race. It was really about government. Okay? It says here, the insurrectionist group won the confrontation and took control of the city, but U.S. Grant, sent more troops to the area, and about 3 days later, those guys were kind of pushed out of power because in 1872, 2 years earlier, the Louisiana election was so screwed up, Congress wouldn't even count our electoral votes. There was so much voter fraud. We had 87% voter turnout. All these dead people were voting. It was just chaos. In fact, they couldn't even have trials because they used the voter registration, and they'd have places that had 50 people registered to vote, and 46 of them were dead. Only 4 people would show up. So during that time, Louisiana was really kind of an interesting place because some years it still hasn't been better. But I want to show you some other stuff here we got. This, I think, is amazing. That is the flag of the Washington Artillery, which is right here. And, this is a little case here where it shows some of the stuff. It actually shows some of the black Confederate soldiers in the guard here, some of the battle scenes, the weapons. This is just an amazing place, but I thought this flag with the tiger from the era of the Civil War would just be an amazing thing to look at. And there's obviously photos down here of a little bit over Beauregard, Sherman, just the people that were players in the Civil War. And you got, again, a tiger thing up here. And we go back a little bit further, and we'll see this thing here for the Mexican War, which, interestingly enough, and this is the other, you can see both cannons now. In the Mexican-American War, Grant, Beauregard, Davis, and Lee were all stationed here together at the same time. These guys were all friends. They served together. Davis was wounded, and he got a medal for being gallantry in the battle. The idea was to keep the Mexican-American War from spreading to Louisiana. So great place to come by. It's not too far out of town. Amazing artillery pieces from really the Mexican-American War, which is 1846, all the way to Katrina. And these guys deployed in Iraq. A lot of good friends that I know served. They ride in a parade now, so it's just a great place to come see.